You know that?
Yeah, no, I did not.
Yeah,
I did not know.
Her mom's been married 2 times and they both died.
I say steer clear, man.
Rose's mom.
We'll we can actually turn this off. We'll go pretty quick if you don't mind on the yeah. That way we can get to Patty real quick. Because I'm assuming at the time this out of the way. So
We're not gonna let Curtis and them get out of line like they did last time, are we?
I mean, Vicky said she talked to him already. So, oh, here's if you want to look at this stuff. So here's the DOL stuff. We'll get to it when we get to it on the agenda, but and then here's our city specific. So this would be the core of this, and this would be everything built around it. If that makes sense.
This is what we're wanting to adopt.
So they're running for that. They want this. They want this no matter what. We want this because this it's the guiding document. It outlines the steps, the training requirements, all that good
And
stuff.
all this composed by Curtis.
Well, this is a national standard. This is actually the city of Brenham.
Oh, okay.
But I've
Oh,
just
Branham?
Brenham, but I just replaced Brenham with Bartlett on
I
that.
got you. Makes sense.
It's a draft though. I mean, it's still gonna have to go through some updates and revisions, but meat and potatoes of it, that's what we're looking for.
Big happy circle here. Circle. All right, we ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. You ready? You fired up?
I'm ready, fired up.
We'll call this meeting to order at 7:30 p.m. All members of council are present? Present? Pregnant? Nobody's pregnant? We're all present. Nobody's pregnant. All right.
What's your pronoun?
Everybody's present. And we'll start with pledge allegiance.
What, it's too short for you?
No, it's only one voting.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we thank you for just allowing us to join here tonight to deliberate city business. Father, we just ask that you use each and every member of the council and of the audience, and just keep everybody on task and just with the cool minds, and just let us talk about business as needed. Father, we just ask that you keep each and every one of us safe tonight. In the name of Christ. Amen. Was there any citizens communication?
I didn't like. So that's the 18. That's the ATS team. That's the first. That's for Tom and everybody except Dondi. I've met Dondi.
Is he the one that comes out and says?
Yeah, he's the lead chief inspector, but Rich is the guy. He's like super monotone. He's like his voice. There are trainings. There are certifications, like municipal court certification. Same thing. You go to a course with International Code Council, the ICC, and you take these trainings.
COVID yet, and I need to finish it.
Is there any update on the picking up of the branches and stuff?
We'll talk about that in department reports
I can do public works.
here in a few seconds. Nobody signed up to speak on the communication on agenda items.
Is there any non-agenda?
Okay. So moving on, boards and commissions and committees, presentations, proclamations. Item number one, cemetery committee monthly update, Mr. Joe Jones.
Yeah, I'd just like to bring everybody's attention, if you haven't been out by the cemetery, it was in the water paper, thanks for having me this week. We've been doing a lot of tree trimming out there and cleaning up, and, Mayor was good enough to get the city workers out there and pick up a lot of the limbs and clean it, so it's going along pretty good, still more to go.
Thank you. Tyner Memorial Library Board monthly update.
Phaedra, I'll read this, but if you want to elaborate on anything quickly, you can do it after I read through it. February 2023 statistics. I've got 142 total visitors, 8 new patrons, 54 books checked out, 23 logged computer lab usage. We had 4 programs, 16 attendees for Domino's, 6 for the town hall, 15 for spring break sessions, and 16 for Women's Wednesday. Again, that was over the whole month. 53 total program attendees. We had 132 volunteer hours with Dina Shipley, Deb, Miss Susan, Phaedra, and Victoria. And we had 132 and a half employee hours, which is through the AARP program with Mr. AP Mitchell. So library's staying very, very busy. Very good. Any other?
Perfect. Moving on, municipal development district monthly update.
The MDD, we've had some scheduling conflicts, just a lot of traveling going on, and what have you. We had some one resignation on the MDD board, so we'll have to add that to our list of positions to advertise for, and then we'll take it from there. But they're moving along.
Item number 4, Parks Facilities Committee monthly update.
The pool and the park over here, I've gone over and made sure that the bathrooms are all operational, which they are. There's still quite a bit of cleaning and stuff that needs to be done over there just to make it ready for the summer months coming up. We have not yet got the pool back to a level to where it'll operate. I have checked the pumps and all, they seem to be operational, but we haven't run water through them yet. So in the next week, with the show, we'll be cleaning that up, getting the pool back online, getting it cleaned up, and getting it ready for the summer season. So the facility in here, we have the scope of work has been determined for the rest of the remodel. There was a legal question we had to get back from the attorney, which I don't believe we've seen that yet. Once we do that, then we'll be able to start getting bids out to, or the opportunity for bids for people to come in and do the floor covering, painting, cleaning up, ceiling tiles, so forth in here. So hopefully in the next, 30, 40 days, we'll be able to get that underway. So other than that, that's pretty much where we are.
Nothing else. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Item number 5, receive monthly department reports.
Yes, sir. We have a town hall at the library, our town hall series. The next one will be this upcoming Saturday, April 15th, where we'll talk about the impact of Samsung and the growth of the region. So a little bit of that ripple effect. Last month, we talked about water and wastewater, which we had a few attendees, but those that did make it, I'm pretty sure they came away with some good information and more insight about the operations. We've advertised for 1 pool manager and 2 lifeguards, so we've already got a few applications. So we'll get those hired and trained and sent off to lifeguard certification as quickly as possible. And then the citywide cleanup is Saturday, April 29th. So we are finalizing a few of those details, and we look forward to it.
May I interject with that?
Yes, sir.
On the citywide cleanup that's going to be happening on the 29th, we're going to be putting together kind of a schedule for volunteers if anybody would like to help. We're going to be pretty busy this year because we have 6 dumpsters now. Thanks to Miss Teresa over here is going to provide 2 more than we normally have. Goodwill's going to be here with the trailer. They're going to man that trailer as well. But we also have a trailer available for batteries. If people want to get rid of batteries, then we'll have to have a volunteer to help organize that. And we also have a scrap metal dumpster. So we'll be putting together a schedule probably by next meeting. We'd like to.
I'm tired.
And what?
Tires.
And tires, excuse me. We also have a trailer coming for tire disposal as well. So we're going to be looking for some volunteers, and we'll get that out this next meeting and kind of get a list of that. So it's going to be from 8 to 12, I believe. or until everything's full. So we'd like to get some volunteers from the city guys if we could get you guys to do that for us.
Are they gonna get the ones that?
Maybe. That's the plan. Yeah.
That's the plan, yeah.
City Secretary?
We've, as you council know, we've canceled the election since we had 2 applications for 2 at-large council positions, so they were running unopposed. The oath of office and the swearing in of the new council members cannot occur until we would have normally canvassed the results, so that will occur at the second meeting of May. So the first meeting of May will still be regular business, and the new council will take effect back half of May.
Municipal Court?
Yes. Court was held on Tuesday, March 28th. 4 defendants appeared. The state comptroller's quarterly report is due at the end of this month. We had $7,510 in total municipal court fines paid. And that's what I got. And we have our jury trial later this month. So we're getting ready for that.
Development services.
Yes, we had $2,750 in development-related fees collected. 1,050 of that was commercial, 100 was a refundable demolition deposit, and 1,600 was residential. We had 9 permits issued, 1 commercial, 8 residential. We had 1 water tap, 1 sewer tap. We have 3 permits in review, all of which are residential. We had 14 ATS inspections completed. And on a code compliance note, we are coordinating Erasmo with sending out letters to ensure that anybody that has tires or scrap metal or any other bulk junk is made aware that April 29th is the perfect opportunity to get that cleaned up. And the judge has been, we've been coordinating with Judge Matthew to enforce that through court. So he's in loop.
Letters, correct?
Yes.
Utility billing.
We had $173,000 in utility billing for the month of March. We had 740 paper bills, 740 accounts, and 28 households on payment plan. We have finalized the FundView utility billing software transition. It's been a big upgrade for us. Our office folks really enjoy it. It's a lot more user-friendly, and we'll continue to grow into it and use it.
Public Works.
The big thing here is a quick update on the brush pickup. Our guys are still going around as they have time available to do it. They start to prioritize the water leaks and the sewer issues. Speaking of which, they dealt with 2 major ones. One was at the alley right down the street here, and the other one was on the west side of town. 2 sewer issues there. But outside of that, they'll continue to pick up on right-of-way maintenance, especially as we get into the spring and summer season. That's going to be a big topic for us. And speaking of the FundView software, we are updating our service order module within that to be more agile and tracking service orders. So we'll use it as a good metric and data gathering tool to help better line our guys out and be more efficient.
They've also been pretty busy filling potholes when the time and weather allows. Hard to fill potholes when they're full of water. But I know they did a lot down the Villa Street, a lot down Alamo Street, a lot down Front Street here, and they've used that new material that we bought a while back. And it seems to be working out really well. So in the future, in the near future, we'll be finding another way to that to carry on. And then we got our roads are terrible right now, but we've had lots of rain and lots of weather. Yes, sir.
They filled it by my house.
They put through that last.
Since I lived in the villa, I got in state preferential treatment because
It's because you moved.
They filled it before the rain is gone.
So they use that old material.
They use the old stuff.
Yeah, they use that
Milling.
millings. The millings doesn't stay, doesn't have anything sticky, so it doesn't stay. And then when the rains come, boom, it's gone. So
Joseph,
But
do you have
millings
the
are free.
schedule on when the town hall is, we can talk about streets?
That actually happened in the month of February. So we talked about streets and electric, but I'm more than happy to have any conversations with folks who are curious about streets. We can either do one-on-one or It would already happen. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
Mr. Policeman, you're up.
In the month of March, we had 104 calls of service. For priority 1, 2 calls, priority 2, 21 calls, priority 3, 52, priority 4, 29. We'll be increasing patrol in the area of Salt Lake due to a reckless driver. After the meeting, we'll be going to issue 2 citations for reckless driving for Saturday and Sunday. I was provided video of this reckless driver. If the violation continues, we'll be going to the judge for a possible deciding on a warrant for reckless driving.
Chief, could I ask you a question? What does priority 1 and 2 and 3, what does that mean?
It started from priority 1, like emergency.
Okay.
Police needs to get there.
That's why it's a siren, right?
Then it goes down to, yes. And then it goes down to 4, like traffic stops.
Oh,
or
okay.
A citizen wants contact.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
He
Thank you.
stopped me earlier today. I'll tell you about that later. But I said, call me. He was texting me. I said, no, Doug, just call me. And like he made me wait 15 minutes before he called me. That was 10 days ago, man.
Status of all the cars still parked at Peach Street in the yard, across from the church. We still have lots of them.
I know some of them have been removed because I talked to them after the last meeting.
The last month you promised me they'd all be gone by this meeting.
I said, no problem.
Yes, sir, you did. We got an ordinance about them, they need to be gone.
So, get with me, and I will talk about it again.
Okay, we have ordinance, they need to be gone.
Sick 'em, Jennifer.
I'm
Okay.
done, they need to be gone.
Fortunately, you have to go step and see where.
They've been there since January, and it's April.
One and a half.
If they were parked in my yard, y'all all made me have a movie by now.
That's not true.
You know it is. I need them gone.
I would,
Yes,
I need a
sir.
little more time.
I need them gone.
But, yeah, I'll talk.
I'm operating business across the street, I need them gone.
Okay.
Go, gavel, y'all. All right, so that's all on item 5. Number 6, approved minutes from the following meetings, 1/23, 2023 regular meeting, 3/13, 2023 regular meeting, and 3/27, 23 regular meeting. And that's all the minutes are.
They were at each of your seats there.
They're right next to the seats.
Yeah.
So that is the consent agenda. I need a motion and a second if we'd like to approve the consent agenda.
I make the motion to accept the minutes from the other regular meetings, approved.
And item number 5.
Yes.
I'll make a second.
All in favor? Consent agenda approved.
Will you remove that?
We will.
It's a- it's a- Make a suggestion.
No public hearings or ordinances tonight. Item number 7 is a regular agenda, review, discuss, and consider and take actions. Item 7, discuss and receive update related to the draft subdivision ordinance.
So we'll do executive session just like we did in the previous 2, and that will be for items 7, and I believe 8 as well. 7 and 8.
So item 7 and 8 will be moved to the executive session, which will take here in just a few seconds. So they're, item 7, discuss, receive, update related draft subdivision ordinance. Item number 8, discuss, review, take any necessary action related to Bartlett Farms request extension of the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction (ETJ) for 98.462 acres. So at this time, we will adjourn into executive session. And, where's my notes? Oh, here we go. All items listed on the agenda are eligible for discussion and or action. The city council reserves the right to retire into executive session at any time during the course of this meeting to deliberate any of the matters listed as authorized by Texas Government 551.071, consultation with the attorney. 551.072, deliberations about real property. 551.073, deliberations about gifts and or donations. 551.074, personnel matters. 551.076, deliberations about security devices, and 551.086, economic development. All final deliberations and actions of the governing body shall be held in open meeting as required by Texas Government Code 551.102. So at 7:48 p.m., we'll reside in the executive session for items 7 and 8. So give us a few minutes, folks.
Here we go. I just need this. There we go. I'm ready.
You ready? All righty, folks, we'll reconvene into open session at 8:11 p.m. Item number 7, discuss and receive update related to the draft subdivision ordinance. There's no action on this item. We reviewed the draft ordinance that Ms. Patty, our city attorney, has drafted up for us, and we'll be in further discussions with ourselves, the city attorney, and city engineering. Item number 8, discuss, review, take any necessary action related to the Bartlett Farms request for extension of the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction for 98.462 acres.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Patty, you wanna discuss this?
Do I need to come up there and make a-
No, you're good.
The action item next for the board tonight is to consider approval of the petition from Bartlett Farms to have the entirety of their property included in the territorial jurisdiction of the city. And it's about the little sliver that's already in the city limits, as you all know, but the majority of the property is located outside of the city limits, about half of it's outside of the current.
Quick question that just popped up, 98.462 acres, that's not the entirety of the land, is it? Isn't the entire land 180?
It's probably portions outside the EPJ.
Okay, that's it, because some of it is.
Some of it is.
Yep.
But the remainder is not, whatever's not in the EPJ.
Want to make sure we only have to do this one time.
And that's the exact acreage they requested in their letter, which is in your permit packet or your agenda packet.
So if you vote in favor of this request, all of that property will be in the EPJ, which will then allow you to move forward.
Any questions?
So is this step one in the process of annexation, and is it a possibility that it won't be annexed? And does this have anything to do with the early permit process? Is there any taxation benefits to one versus the other?
We just discussed that, so there's no benefits of the taxation, this doesn't change
No,
the
there's no
taxing.
taxation. However, some of your ordinances will apply in the EPJ. They haven't approved or considered for the development agreement, which is valid. Annexation is covered under that agreement and will commence once that agreement is
The
approved.
annexation happened in stages, correct?
Yes.
Because we can only annex up to a half mile at a time. So this property's greater than that, so we'll have to maybe do it three annexations.
So my question is really around permitting in the development stages. So if it's in the ETJ, they're not subject to our permitting requirements. So with the annexation process, building permit,
Not subject to building permit, but once they're annexed, they will be subject.
right, so if they were to start the building process prior to annexation, then they can build what they wanted to without our requirements.
But they would not do that. They would not, that still has to go through a lot more pre-approval before they can even start pulling any permits at all. They have to be annexed first. I see.
Part of the agreement though is for them to get city utilities, they have to be annexed into the city, correct? So it's more valuable for them to annex into the city than it is for us to, you know.
Once the subdivision ordinance we discussed briefly tonight is approved by council, it will apply in the end of the day. So they won't be building permits, but site development permits will be required.
I'm just saying it all needs to be considered, and if we don't put these cards out on the table and you get hit on the back end, somebody needs to say it out loud.
Well, this is step one of the annexation process. So this has to be done prior to the annexation.
You might have to go to the zoning,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Annexation.
and then you do them.
Any action on item number 8? Any other questions, any action?
I'll make a motion that, Bartlett Farm declares for extension of the city extraterritorial jurisdiction, for 98.462 acres, if we motion to accept that.
Thank you. We made a motion with Jesse Luna second. All in favor? Motion does carry 5-0. All righty. You're welcome to stay, or you can.
There you
Don't
go.
need to brag. Thank you. We'll see you in
Bye-bye.
a couple of weeks. Take care. Item number 9, discuss review taking, okay, do you wanna, do you wanna move these? Before we move on here, do you wanna move
I would like to.
12, 13, and 14? Is that what you wanted?
Yes, sir, if that's okay.
12, 13, 14, which is dealing with our city lineman group, and public works. If it's okay with everybody else, we'll move, 12, 13, and 14 in front of item number 9. Good. So we'll skip on down to item number 12.
You guys can, if you got space up there, y'all can sit at those tables there.
Item number 12, discuss review taking necessary action related to the alignment apprenticeship program.
Mr. Phil, you already got these, right? I should have enough copies. If not. So to follow up on our last meeting, the first thing that we'll look at is the registered apprenticeship standards. That's the packet with the, that's very official. This is the one that is registered with the Department of Labor. Now, this is the one that we've talked about before, is the critical piece of the entire puzzle. This is what we want to have registered, which it already is. Mr. Curtis has already got that on the books with the Department of Labor. And I did have a call with a couple of folks that oversee this. And I guess maybe let me just go through my notes here on it. This is a nationally recognized and approved program. So as you flip through it, you'll see modules and what that means, and work order processes. And what that means is that it's been approved nationwide by folks in the industry that say, yes, that is the proper length and scope of knowledge that a journeyman lineman would need to perform his duties. So you see, year one, I'm on page A5. You'll see year one, it says circuit breakers, capacitors, substations, supply station, NESC, and then the core competencies, introduction to electrical analysis, repair, and troubleshooting. The whole nine. It covers everything that, again, a nationally recognized journeyman lineman would need to know. So with that being said, Marty and Brandon, you guys are already registered as apprentices in the program. The hours are tracked by department head. Let's see. Now, I asked, the general sense that I got for this whole program is that it's very flexible to any additional items the city would want to do in addition to this program here. So there are a few components that we can incorporate into here. One being credit for previous experience. So Marty, you came to us with previous experience. If you could, we'll outline it. We'll talk about this document here in a minute. But if outlined within this, we say Marty or whomever wants to join our program, what do we need in order to recognize your previous credit? So you're not starting from point zero in our program. You're actually starting already well ahead of where you would typically be coming in. And the gentleman from the Department of Labor told me that the start point of credit is dependent on the city. So that's something that council and us can work on. However, the system does limit that to, I believe, 60 to 70% of the total program, Department of Labor program itself. So I think it's 70, where's the hour minimum? There's like 7,000 minimum hours you have to do. So I think it can only accommodate up to 60% of those hours. You can't do like 6,500 credit and then you just do the last 500 here. It has to start somewhere. When it talks about probationary period, there are two different types. One is a city-specific probationary period, which is pretty loose on our end anyways. But as it relates to the probationary period in the apprentice program, why that's important is because they use that to track the retention and cancellation rate for any registered program. So given our size, if somebody were to leave, that's going to be a 50% retention rate, which kind of rings a bell for them and they look into the program even more. But as long as they understand the context that we're a small group and that we're going to have skewed numbers, then they take that into account there. And our retention and cancellation rates are reported to the national board. However, there is no minimum rate that we need to maintain. It's just something that they do monitor. One thing I did take away from that conversation as well, it's a lot of documentation. Where are we crediting these hours for? My initial thoughts would be through timesheets, right? So anything that you guys do, period, for the election department, you're getting credit for everything that's on your timesheet. So when the Department of Labor comes in and says, hey, we want to check your program and your documents, let me see it. All we do is pull out your documented timesheets that have been signed off by your direct supervisor, who is also oversees the whole program. And well, there are components for that, which I'll touch on here in a second. Let's see here. Oh, I know. I'm sorry. Got busy. But and then we also have to document all job ads and so forth. So because it does outline certain minimum standards for hiring, which is pretty baseline anyhow. But that's basically what this program is. In a nutshell, that is what this is. So what we have talked about in addition to this Department of Labor program is developing a city component to it. And that's what this bigger packet is here. Now, we've talked about before R&D, rip off and duplicate. Well, this is a draft is plastered all over this thing. This is really from another municipally owned utility. I'm not saying that we have to do every page of this. I'm not saying we have to do half of this, all of it, or a quarter of it. What I'm saying is this is the general concept of what we're looking to apply when we talk about City of Bartlett specific program. Correct, a guideline. And the first part of that would be, if you look at the Department of Labor packet, they don't have anything related to utility billing or meter infrastructure. Well, that's a big part of what we do. So if we're going to develop an apprentice program, we would want to have training associated with meters, because again, that's a big deal for us. So that's where that would be outlined in our city specific program. That does not change the Department of Labor. None of this changes. It's just in addition to the Department of Labor. The other thing that would be outlined in the line worker apprentice training program would be, step pays. So you would come in, there would be about 6 different classifications that are in this draft. You have apprentice 1, 2, 3, and then basically about halfway through their program, you transition to line worker 1, 2, 3, and upon completion of the program, you are now considered a journeyman lineman, which at the same time corresponds with your Department of Labor training certification, where you would then have the certification from them as well. So each of those step ups, we can call them, outlines what trainings you need to have, what hour requirements you need to have, what the pay rate associated with that specific step is, the full 9. It also outlines, it mentions in there department safety standards. Talks about the American Public Power Association safety manual. That's this bad boy right here, or one of them, one of the older versions. So we'll touch on it later on in the agenda, but that'll be a key component we'll touch on here in a minute. So with that said, I'll open up the floor. Curtis, Marty, Brandon, if there's anything you guys want to chime in on, add to it, council, mayor. That's the progress we've made so far.
So this draft now, changing it, you're saying that we made about the city. Now, is it gonna be, it sounds like to me it's kind of gonna be added to this,
Correct.
but just on the city side,
Correct.
not
Yeah.
recognizable. Where's
Yeah.
I understand this.
Right. So
So it's just gonna be basically add-on.
correct. So to answer your question,
Requirement.
yes, sir. To answer your question, to give an example, Joe Schmo comes in from the street, no training. He starts our program from the ground up. He starts basically both at the same time. This outlines more in depth what he can expect every monthly or time increment, pay, training, full 9. Let's say he stays with the city for 5 years. Well, he still walks away from the city with a credential from the Department of Labor that has been approved by them, in addition to all of the other things that were specific to the city of Bartlett, like the meter training and any other program or training that would be beneficial for you guys and our folks. So, yeah.
Can I ask how long it takes to become an actual lineman? How many years, how many?
You stay alive.
Yeah, don't touch wire.
It's definitely true.
Yeah.
It depends. And the apprenticeship usually goes like 6 months.
But that's if you're going there full time, like in a classroom, right? Is that what you're saying?
So you have classroom,
Mhm.
on courses you can take from different things, but also out in field hours.
Work on that too.
We
Work on
haven't
that.
been in classes.
Right. Oh, which
Haven't been able to.
Right.
Use guys in classes.
So it wouldn't be just like sitting in here with a laptop. You're going to actually
Here it is.
go to a class.
Different co-ops, power companies, different organizations that actually go on training.
Okay, so would that mean that all 3 of you would go at one time, or could we
No.
stagger it? Okay, so
So-
that we've got somebody still here.
Oh, yeah.
so
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
no, you're good. To elaborate on both of these points here.
Mhm.
Now, in our program, it says 5,300 hours for on-the-job training or on-the-job learning. The gentleman that I spoke with, Julian, he said that it actually needs to be 6,300 because there has to be a minimum of 7,000 hours through the program. So it's one thing we'll have to amend in our program, but he said that's really straightforward to do. But what makes up that 7,000 hours is 6,300 of it is on-the-job training or on-the-job learning. And that is where the timesheets come in. So I could just run a report that's, okay, I could run all your hours through payroll and it'll give me a bottom number that says, where you guys are at. Plus $700 hours of competency tests. And that would be your, Brandon, kind of like how we did yours, or where you go through and you outline, these are the basic tools, equipment, materials. That would be considered a competency test. And you would be credited hours for that. And there's a next wave of competency tests, and that has to be comprised of about 700 total hours. So 6,300 plus the 700, and that gets you the combined 7,000. Now, there is one other piece to it where it talks about 600 classroom hours, and the gentleman told me it's 500 minimum, and right now we're at 600. And he did say that the city, in our program, we could allow it to, double dip, so to speak. So if you guys, let's use an example, would be you guys drive to Georgetown, to TEC, or you guys drive to Teeks down at College Station, and you take 16 hours, 2 days worth of classroom instruction and field training. Well, that would not only count towards your classroom hours, but that would also count towards your on-the-job training, on-the-job learning hours. So you're double dipping both of those at the same time. And that's something we can dictate in our training program outline. We can specify that and make it clear. With that, those are pretty much all the notes that I had from the Department of Labor. I have a follow-up call with him prior to our next council meeting. And in the interim, me and the guys and Mayor will sit down and we'll go more in depth on this apprentice program. And that way we can bring something back to you to potentially take action.
How do we budget, if we want to, create our budget?
Mhm.
How do we anticipate these salary increases, because the council's gonna have to vote on them every time, correct?
No, sir. So what we would do is, assuming this program is, let's say we pass this, council passes this, let's just say May 1st or what have you. Well, as we go into our budget season for next year, we'll say, okay, we know where our guys are at now. We give them the 6, assuming they pass at the earliest possible time, that'd be halfway through the fiscal year. So we accommodate for that. We say the first part of the fiscal year would be at this pay rate. The second part of the fiscal year would be at this pay rate. So we need to budget that amount of funding appropriately, plus all of the training that is outlined for their particular step progression that they're at. So they say, apprentice 2 needs to take these classes. Well, then we budget the funding for those classes. If a line worker 2 needs to take these classes and these trainings, we budget for that. And once that's approved, not only through this program, which is it can be reviewed annually, but once it's approved, it's a city program now. And every year through the budget, once those 2 approvals are done, it's just rock and roll. Once it comes up, it's done as long as all the baseline components are met and the approval is signed off on the supervisor level, saying that you guys did what was stated in here. Instantaneous, yes, sir. Yep.
So let me ask you, Curtis, you presented this, am I correct? Okay. So you're happy with this? You're happy with this? Okay. So if there are some things that we need, I see that kind of highlighted, that we could sit down and maybe add to, would you be okay with that? I don't mean put this whole thing in there. That's just,
I understand. Depends on what it is, yeah. Right,
But I'm saying where you could sit down, is that what we're doing tonight?
No, this
No.
is for council, for you guys to
We're
get an
just-
update. Now, me, Mayor, and the guys, we'll sit down and we'll hash, because
Okay,
this has to run through Curtis as the department supervisor.
Okay.
He's the one who's the subject matter expert that's going to say, these guys need to know this and this progression because it's the industry standard and it's for safety.
okay, so
for
you
professional
can take it out of here, the draft one,
And like I said,
and add to this one, but you say, hey, yeah, that, hey, we need to put this in there. Is that okay with you?
as long as this, the original that I started, I asked them to do it, as long as that is approved, like you said, the council has to approve it.
Mhm.
As long as that's done, recognized for the city, and, they can keep going forward.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it.
So it has to be able to grow with the city as well.
I understand,
Yeah.
I understand that's what this is
I
about.
agree, exactly. So I think that's
Yeah.
the premise of the whole thing.
So are we voting on that?
no, this is just an update because, again, we still have to sit down
Okay.
and revise this to make sure that it's City of Bartlett specific.
But at this point, you're willing to sit down and say, hey, let's add this, or no, we don't need this out of the draft part.
Well,
You willing to, is that what you're saying?
right, because the point of the R&D, the rip off and duplicate, is instead of starting from scratch and say, now we've got to spend all this time to develop this on paper, it's like 80-90% done. All we have to do is just go through and hash out the finer points, and then we bring it right back to you guys for
Okay.
approval.
You think we could have this done by the next meeting in 2 weeks?
That's right.
How fast can you work? How fast can you work, Curtis?
Well, don't forget, we still have to review this with
Curtis,
city
take this
attorney
home.
too.
Take this home, Curtis, and read it tonight. Get back with us.
Ready on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not gonna be on the clock.
I
you stop by Beach House, wait till I talk to you about it.
Yeah.
I think we all just want y'all to be able to move up those steps.
Right.
We all want that.
Grow with the city.
We want y'all here, okay?
We want to be here.
Okay.
We know.
And,
If it has something to do with the city.
and you know, and I'll make one more quick comment is that our service area through the PUC, our CCN is pretty defined, and we're pretty landlocked by the co-op, and I highly doubt they're going to cede any territory to us. So with that being said, the max I can see our department growing would be 4 people, maybe 5, depending if we're fully built out, maybe 6, you know, we'll see. But the point being is that with the bigger outfits, either private or public, it can be seen that you can grow a lot longer within that department. So what this would do is be a recruitment and retention tool. You know, you want to get into the line working field, you come to us, you spend the next 3.5 years with us, and when you graduate, you're top notch, you know? And if they decide to move on after that, so be it. But now we have something in place that another person can come in and say, ooh, this is attractive to me. I want to work here. And it would help us keep that professional development pipeline moving forward.
Okay. Do you think,
The co-op sends their guys to North Texas or.
Northwest Lyman College.
And it's not something that they go for a 2-week period a year, 2 weeks a year, or 2 weeks every 6 months.
I think it's 2 weeks every 6 months.
And that program, it is a drawn-out program, and it's extremely expensive. It's about, yeah, it's extremely expensive.
and the city's we'll pay for
And then
that.
they're out of the city for 2 weeks straight. Boom. So if we have outage, we were out, you know, we've got one guy here holding down the fort, you know, with the other guy dressed.
Training.
Training.
Which is why it's important for us to continue to work on interlocal agreements with other municipal providers like Georgetown, Brenham, College Station, whoever will answer the call pretty much, and relationships with Techline as well. So it's a simultaneous deal for us.
There is still gonna be times when both whoever the apprentice is, you know, if we have 2 at a time, like we would at this moment, I mean, we got different tiers, different experience wise. But, you know, they'll be in the same class at the same time outside the city. And so we'll fall back on Curtis, you know, hopefully it's nothing major, that, you know, something's fused, then Curtis will do that in sleep, you know, but if it's you know, like a line down or something like that, then that's why we got the subcontractors, you know, that we call back in. Because these classes aren't offered right here in Bartlett, Texas. You know, sometimes they may be, I know co-op had a pole climbing class, you know, out here at their location. You know, but it's very well that we could be having to send these guys to College Station, or, you know, where they'd be out for maybe 2 days, who knows. You know, but there'll be those times. But we would ask the department head to try to schedule those accordingly to where we do have, you know, we're not without coverage. There's going to be times, guys, where we don't have coverage in the city. These guys they're entitled to days off, entitled to vacations. There is time, but we just ask our department head and to coordinate with us. That way we can coordinate with our subs and stuff like that. That way we have some coverage, you know, and, you know, it just be a longer response time, you know.
Okay, so
We've been there in the past.
I'm not trying to ask for the impossible. What do you think that this could be done on the next agenda in 2 weeks? Is that asking kind of the impossible?
No, because let's see, like I said, Curtis is already registered with the program. There's just 1 or 2 things potentially that would be tweaked within this.
Okay.
Very simple things like the 63, going from 5,300 to 6,300 to meet the 7,000 hour minimum that you wanted. And then the other part is really the biggest thing to go through here would be the classifications, you know, what titles or what's the monthly increment to progress through the program, and then what sort of training and pays associated with that. That's kind of going to be the biggest next conversation point.
I think maybe we could have it on next agenda.
We'll try. Well, that's the goal. Let me tell you that. That's the
Okay,
goal,
okay.
to have it on next council agenda for potential action.
Okay.
Right. Yes.
Did you have a question there?
I understand that we need to invest in
advancing their careers or something, but after we invested and made them top notch, you can think that they won't even go somewhere
There's
else.
nothing to say that.
They may,
won't.
they may do it.
You can't.
They might do it.
You can't tie, you can't tie them to the city. There's nothing to say that these guys can't leave, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we hope that they would stay in Bartlett. We hope that, you know, we're at a understanding with our pay scale and stuff like that. They've seen that we've taken, you know, the best care we possibly can afford to. You know, we hope that they stay here, but, you know.
You may not.
They may not. If they leave, we drag in another one and we start over, you know, I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
But Shelton is right. It'd be the question of, well, why? Why are you leaving?
I like it. Any other questions on this item before we move to the next one? Any, on the alignment apprenticeship program? You see where we're at with it? You see that Chelsea's working on it? You know,
So 12 is just, no action.
We'll receive update and a chance for input. So
Okay, so
you guys are on the next step. This is where we're at with it, and you can expect to have it back on the next council agenda for
Okay.
potential approval.
Anything else, Mr. Curtis, Marty, Brandon? Anything? So, like I said, this one is a no action updates. I mean, we're provided, obviously, we're working on it. We're trying to get to a quick resolution on it as fast as possible. So that was item number 12, no action. Item number 13, discuss if you take any necessary action related to the electric department, day-to-day operations. That was something that you asked to put on here to talk. Mr. Curtis, you wanna?
Yeah, like when I first started here, we always had pretty good communication, you know, on day-to-day, you know, weekly, monthly communication.
Oh.
I knew everybody knew what was going on, and we kind of got away from that. And we talked about it before, having meetings again on Monday.
Mhm.
And talking about things.
Yeah.
You know, we need to get back to that.
So you're asking for a little bit more communication between,
Department heads, with, you know. Should be normal.
Yeah, it should be happening.
Yeah.
So that way,
Well,
Everybody stay on the same page, you know, things.
I do agree, but let me say this. He is city secretary and city administrator, and there's a lot going on. I don't want to make it sound like you're not doing anything because you're working your tail off. I mean, you know, but maybe if you could put a block of time
but yes.
on Monday or Monday, whatever day y'all decide on.
So right
that's-
now, he's meeting Tuesdays and Thursdays with the Development Services Group. And so, you know, he'll chalk out some time during his schedule, he'll get to you. And he'll chalk up something where it.
And-
For the department and.
And one other important thing, you know, to use those, I'll go full circle with it. So during my review, this is something that you guys had asked me to do and to work on. And part of it is we had a lot going on. So I'm asking if we can slow it down a little bit so I can take more attention towards the day-to-day operations here. And we're pretty much at that point now. Right. And with our department meetings that, like Curtis mentioned, when I first got here and he first came on board, we had meetings with, it was me, you, Shane, and Darrett, and we sat down, we talked about stuff going on. But of course, things get crazy, what have you. Been meeting with development services, utility billing, and Brenda for court and everything else. We have agendas that we go through during our department meetings, so we stay on track and we stay productive. It's the same thing that we'll do with this meeting here. This document that we just talked about, that's going to help with that. Hey, where are the guys at? What training's coming up this month, this week? How do we schedule coverage? You know, what holidays are coming up? What project? What sort of? We talked about the Fund View module, and I talked about updating the service order components. That's a big piece of it. I mean, if you go in that back room, and you guys saw it, those little sticky Post-it notes up there. We are doing it in a way that would help our meetings be more productive about performance metrics, goals, objectives, long-term organizational development stuff. That's what we're talking about here. So, yes, sir. We'll get to it.
Yeah, totally understand. agreeable. Talk about safety, doing that.
So 13 is just
It's another no action, it's just a request, communication. Is that all you have on item 13, Curtis?
Yeah, I mean, once we start having, meetings start.
More things to come.
Be a little bit better communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, I think it's gonna clear up a lot of stuff.
Amen.
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you, sir. Item number 14, discuss review taking necessary action related to the Public Works. So this is a lump together, Public Works and Electric Department Safety Program, because obviously we have lacked on our safety programs here in the city of Bartlett over the years. And employee safety is our number one top priority every day.
Right.
So this goes for Mr. PD, he does his stuff over there, he's got stuff, state required safety stuff. So we're talking about, safety for Public Works gentlemen, trench safety, stuff like that would fit them.
That's a big one.
These guys,
Trench
we're
safety.
talking about like pole top rescue, obviously that doesn't fit there in the guys, they're not gonna be climbing no poles.
Right.
But pole top rescue, CPRs and stuff like that, CPR can go entire department, entire Public Works and electric, but
Yeah.
then
So-
there'd be those break-offs where it's strictly electric, strictly Public Works.
Right. And so that's exactly right. There's two pieces of this conversation here, the department-specific safety training and the citywide general safety training. The general one is like your OSHA 10s, OSHA 30s. Trench safety would be a good one for the guys, period, but the CPR training. The department-specific ones will be more outlined in the apprentice program for you guys. It'll show what is the pole top rescue and everything like that. That's going to be very, very key to have in the program. And we're going to develop a very similar program, the professional development program for Public Works next. This is going to be a good template that we're going to start implementing for the water and wastewater guys, career progression, backhoe certification, trench safety again, but also getting trained up on our sewer jet. Traffic flow.
Most departments close roads,
Yeah.
They have a bucket truck in the middle, we need certified traffic control,
Yeah.
out there. We don't just need me out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. so,
And-
Yeah.
And the other,
I enjoy doing it, but I've almost caused a few head-on collisions, so.
the
I'm not looking, I wave this guy on, and then that guy starts going, I'm like, whoa, okay, everybody get that, so one at a time again.
So, and ideally, as part of the Public Works Apprentice Program, same thing. Our guys need to be working towards certifications, getting their Class D, Class C, B, A, TCEQ licenses, and we develop those in-house operators, especially with this wastewater treatment plant coming down the pipeline. We've got to have qualified folks to man that and take
Just
care
like
of it.
what the electric department's doing with the apprenticeship program, our PW guys need to be doing the same thing, just like this,
Yeah.
Joseph said. Our water operator, sewage operator,
we have a
should have been doing this
fantastic,
25 years ago.
we have a fantastic system over there at the water tower. What's it called?
SCADA.
Okay.
SCADA. That evidently nobody knows how to run except you. It's a very top notch,
I'll block this out of a few.
Yeah.
but it's a very top notch, it's a very top notch system that even has,
That's what I did the other night.
that even has an alarm on it when something goes wrong. And the last person here disconnected the alarm. So, we need somebody that knows how to do all that because it's a top notch system.
And it to keep it related to the safety, having adequate water pressure is a public health deal. You got to know how to operate that SCADA.
I've got a question for you. In other companies you've worked for, what were the OSHA requirements? Was it OSHA 30 minimum? Or did they even go there with OSHA? I know a lot of big companies.
There's classes that you take for that.
Yeah, I know, and the
These
companies I've
kids,
worked
like
for.
my two sons, when they went to TSCC for the lineman school,
Mhm.
they spent a year there. I think they got their OSHA 10. I don't know,
I was looking at the North Texas Lineman College the other day, you come out
I know.
with 10.
OSHA 10 was one of them.
Yeah, Well, I think it's kind of the minimum standard nowadays is OSHA 30. I don't even know if they much recognize OSHA 10 anymore. Yeah, but 30 covers trench safety and a whole lot of things. So I know a lot of big companies, now that is the very minimum that you'd have to have. So I didn't know if that was something, we can go ahead, that can be done online. And it's like $100, I think, per person, and you do it online, and then you get a certificate.
Do you remember the big trench over here by the, that right there could have been so bad.
Bring it right by the railroad track,
Yeah.
down there 24 feet.
That could have been
Working on a
so
water
bad.
leak. No trench safety.
You don't remember that? That's several years ago, and the whole town was without water, right down here by the railroad tracks.
Hold up, I said,
Okay, so we need to adopt a safety
right
program.
by the railroad track. All that
We have to
high-
develop the safety program. Now, the department-specific safety program will be in the apprentice program, basically. But it'll be an ongoing discussion, pretty much.
Marty was saying, where he's been, like in the first few days, higher on Ocean 30, all that
That's
was.
pretty standard nowadays, and that's something we can actually implement sooner than later.
We may look at, rather than doing that online, we may look at bringing in like a.
An instructor.
Like the instructor to come in here and just sit the whole guys down in here one day. It's like, hey,
That's 30 full hours. I mean, it's a week.
it's, yeah. I mean, or maybe do half, half the, half now and half in another time, you know what I'm saying? That way, I mean, I think.
Are you talking about waterworks too?
Yeah.
Especially water.
Especially waterworks. It's usable, but especially the water guys, you know what I mean?
The computer class
I don't-
isn't bad. It worked well.
I don't think that would work with them.
Yeah.
So,
Either way, I mean, it's an
I mean, I
option.
think they'd have to have
You don't want
somebody.
to sit here for 30 straight hours. You can go home and do it at your own time and be done.
Yeah, yeah.
You still have to test out with it. Just a thought.
I'm sorry?
Get done in one day.
You know, the-
30 hours in less than 24.
So, any other, I mean, obviously, you know this, we've had long discussions about safety guys, and if you see, we don't, look, Joseph nor myself doesn't know, we don't know what the requirements of the safety are for linemen. We rely on you guys. I mean, Shelton could probably tell me everything that needs to be done, it's a long time lineman out there, so. But I rely on you guys, so if you see something that you need, bring it to the city administrator, we'll talk about it. Y'all bring it in your department, discussions, communications, whenever y'all pick that on, bring it, you can bring it, to whoever needs to go to. Obviously, there's a cost with safety classes, so, I mean, we're not against it.
Now,
We're not against it.
before we move on, there are, like you mentioned, the costs associated with training classes. We can move pretty quickly, I think, on the OSHA trainings. I think those are pretty straightforward. But if it's like you mentioned the Northwest Lineman College training,
Some of them get pretty pricey,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, we'll have to plan that. Basically, is what we're saying.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
That actually is a whole separate class from OSHA.
But the fire department could probably, Jonna could teach it.
Jonna Rice.
Yeah.
They gotta be certified.
She's certified. Yeah, she's an EMT. She's certified.
One of our local fire departments. She's certified to teach CPR and stuff like that. Her name is Jonna Rice, and we can have her come in and get you.
This is the one that I sent before, the different classes
Oh.
with TC.
Are you guys required to have refrigerators and stuff too? Do y'all have them?
We have one right now.
The one that came from the swimming pool?
Yes.
I was wondering where that was.
So we need to get one for the swimming pool.
Yes. Because they need it worse than anybody.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
That TEC.
And they do
It felt better.
a different co-op. So you're not going so far.
Thank you.
And there was a schedule for that having different locations.
Well, I'm gonna send them definitely. Thank you. There ain't nothing cheap about safety much. I mean, but you gotta have a lot of them, and definitely good.
We got that down.
Any other
I'm
questions?
gonna add that to mine.
Well,
You're watching yourself.
I'm gonna ask you, you know, the status on the Murphy Road.
Yes, I reached out to Jensen. Did you see my response to you? I'm assuming that it was rubber gloves plus the glove bags plus the glove dust, just like you would with the lanyards and the harnesses, right? All that, I mean, all that goes together. Yeah, I got you. I did send, when you sent that email, I sent your response right afterwards. I just didn't see it, but it was Friday. It's a holiday, you know. So yeah, I'll get with Jensen. We'll get that order.
So 14 is a no action.
Another update, right? Receive update, no action.
So how many, so I saw there was 4. There was 4 sets of rubber gloves on the quote that Jensen sent. So you're gonna rotate the ones that you do have, send them
The
off on
ones that
Thursday,
you have that are out of date.
send those
Yeah.
back to LCRA.
We're gonna have them back on Twitter. When those come back, the ones, the new ones go out of date, send those in.
Are they
We have
recertified?
backup, right? So we always have a good testing bed.
Okay, good.
No one takes a pinhole.
Oh, yeah, that's all. So you'd be sending those to LCRA testing? Yeah. Same thing, y'all send your mat and all stuff like that, your hot sticks, all that.
So Curtis, let me ask you, this reaching out to other cities that could maybe be our backup, you know, is that something you do or Joseph does? I mean, don't you have connections
I'm not gonna
somewhere?
have time because I'm gonna be out there, one picking up wires,
You don't have connections in some city?
isolating, you know, to get most
Well,
of the cities back on.
Well,
Right.
you're talking about in
No,
general,
I'm talking about.
not during
you're
an
gone.
emergency.
Not during an emergency,
No.
you're gone. You're
What-
taking off, you're going wherever, you can be gone for 5 days.
To answer your question, Ms. Vicky,
Yes.
Mayor and I have been putting rubber to pavement or whatever the phrase is, reaching out to these local municipalities, Georgetown, what have you. It's going to take both parties. I mean, it's going to take their frontline guys communicating with our frontline guys. That way, you build that relationship before things hit the fan, and that way you kind of get a sense of who they are and vice versa. What we're trying to do is initiate that meeting in the first place, and that typically happens with, either like public works director or electric superintendent level or city manager level, even mayor level on the smaller places. That's where the conversation starts, and then it'll trickle down to you guys.
I mean, I realize when it's
Building
like,
relationships.
when it's like an ice storm everywhere, nobody's gonna come here. It's,
Yeah.
it's,
Everybody think for
it's only,
themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we had the ice storm and in 3 days, everybody was back up and running by
Yeah.
yourselves. So I'd like to commend y'all for that. That was a big deal. Real big deal.
Cool.
Now, I did kind of lose it on like the second half of the day. But other than that, I was fine.
I lost it a few times myself. I lost it the first hour.
Like, I'm freezing cold.
But no, it's, a lot of this stuff is, part of our emergency operations.
Our EOP, Emergency Operation Plan, right?
So,
PC.
Everybody working together, everybody's gonna have a job. to do.
Yeah.
Stuff like
But I
that.
mean, I thought that was, I wanted to commend y'all for just the 3 of y'all. No other help from outside. You got us back on. It was 3 days, wasn't it? 2.5, 3 days? Yeah.
Yeah,
Marty did come
that's
back and
what-
help.
that's
Yeah,
what
Marty
Marty
came
called.
back and helped, and
That was a-
that was a big deal. Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
You get pounds back.
You got to buy them lunch now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta make a cake.
You got to
Make 'em
make them a cake.
I'm gonna make them a cake.
Got a cake made. How about- Don't worry, don't get no hopes up. I know wait on 6 months.
I made 8 Saturday night,
They're on back order.
all through the night.
But anything else, gentlemen?
Okay.
I think this department, meeting, with Joseph, with the department head and Joseph, and sometimes if I'm in town, I jump in on those. And, Philip, sometimes when he's coming through, he'll jump in on them. And so, but, yeah, communication, man, I mean, we're all about it, and I mean, yeah, it has fallen by the wayside, but
A lot of it. A lot of it.
Talked to you a lot more back when you didn't have anybody to talk to. You remember
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
Now you got somebody to talk to. Yeah. So, no, but we can get back on track with that, man. We have no issues here in all three of these items, so it's obviously a work in progress, but we're trying to escalate it. So, cool. Everybody good?
Just like we talked about before, just stay patient with us. You know, I'm hoping that this shows good faith effort there, that whole packet of information there, that we are really trying to bring it up as quickly as possible and get it in effect as quickly as possible, just like everything else that we've talked about. So.
So if y'all have nothing else, y'all can stick around if you want. Gentlemen, thank you all. Be careful, okay? And Curtis, thanks for coming out the other night and walking the alleys with me.
Yeah.
And I do need one of those bright yellow shirts for when we do stuff like that, because I was kind of terrified that I was gonna get shot that night, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, they might recognize. I should probably not wear dark clothes when I go out walking at night in the alleys looking for outages.
Mhm.
Okay, moving back on track. Item number 9, discuss, review, take any necessary action related to Heritage Broadband proposed water tower attachment.
We had a gentleman, Tom Chapman, reach out to us from Heritage Broadband. They're pretty big out in Florence. And also, I believe they're based out of Florence. Yes. This information was in your packet. But they are pretty prevalent. And Gerald, I spoke to their interim city manager today about their experience with Heritage Broadband. And overall positive. If you look them up on Google reviews, Mr. Chapman was telling me that they have very, very favorable reviews. During the most recent ice storm, they were the only internet provider that was up during that whole time. So they like to put that feather in their cap. But the attached agreement is, the city attorney's already reviewed it. He had a few recommended revisions. We have a meeting with Mr. Chapman this Thursday to follow up on the city attorney recommended revisions and a few other details. But basically what he's asking is for the city to allow him to place broadband infrastructure on both of our water towers. And one additional piece I did ask him is he has a qualified crew that puts this equipment up. I said, hey, well, while you're up there, could you put up our AMI infrastructure too? And he said, well, that might be a separate agreement, but he said it certainly is possible and something they can do. And so it'd be a good dual partnership potentially, I believe.
Does that interfere with the quality of Falcon or anybody else? Does that interfere with each other as far as signal?
He said they do frequency management. That's one thing that we can ask him about on Thursday, just to clarify. But he said that when I spoke to Gerald, she said they didn't have any frequency issues with any of the other providers that I can think of. I mean, not that I've heard of so far. Oh, and to be fair, he does know who Falcon is. I think he knows Jeff, and so it's not like two strangers trying to share one space. You know, they would have decent communication.
So we're not here to approve this tonight because we want to talk to
Mr. Chapman plus legal, like I said, recommended a few revisions to it. So we'll discuss that Thursday and bring it back to you as quickly as we can.
So maybe next meeting, maybe we'll have, we probably want to, do the right thing and reach out to
Are we
them.
gonna charge him a fee for those or what?
Yeah, there is.
There is a fee associated with it. It's an annual fee. I believe it was 200 and something. Now, one thing I'll note, one of the recommended revisions, this original draft is for 10 years. It has an automatic renewal clause in it. I would recommend 5 years max, because 10 years is a long time in city years. Things can change. And also, it pretty much gives basically stating that he would have a key to the gate anytime he wants to access the tower, which I get. If his equipment fails, you kind of need that. But we do want to build in some additional,
Yeah.
monitoring or approval, oversight. That's the term. Some additional oversight to then just giving someone free reign to our water infrastructure.
Let me just say that when Jim Trudeau was here, and Falcon was gonna go in.
Chief has the others.
Oh, what, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you up there, I didn't say, I'm sorry. Jim Trudell was like, there should be nothing on our tower. But it went through and Falcon went in. And it was partly because of the key situation and the,
Well, if you look around at other cities, you see stuff on their tower. I mean,
Okay.
it's not uncommon. Now, what you want to make sure they don't do is that they don't go up there and start welding equipment up there, or they start drilling holes in your infrastructure. And that's explicitly outlined in here too. They're not going to do any of that. So just another thing we want to be very
Good,
clear
Jim.
on.
Go ahead, on.
The only suggestion I have to be is, there has something in there that what happens if you do not say it.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you.
like a,
Little bit, and then-
That's where the police department comes, does target
Yeah.
practice.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we have that issue.
Well, I think we do, don't we?
So that's why we do 5 years
Find
max.
that sign.
Mhm.
That's true.
Well, but you know, a lot of things walked away.
Is there gonna be some coordination between Falcon and Heritage?
There'd have to
would
be.
have to be,
There'd have to
yeah.
be. One other quick thought that Mr. Chapman did mention is that they are a woman-owned business, and by that,
Tom, the one?
no,
Okay.
no. But he brought that up because I believe that the business owner is from the region, and she places a huge emphasis company-wide on community-oriented service. So one thing that Tom mentioned to me, I think with the city of Gerald or somewhere in the region, they offer free Wi-Fi or free internet to local churches. They offer, I believe the city manager of Gerald told me that they get some buildings free Wi-Fi, free broadband from Heritage. So Tom did say that, yes, that's a possibility. Now, the churches and the city has to ask for that, but they are certainly open and willing to accommodate such requests on a case-by-case basis. So, our library, we're hopeful to get fiber here pretty soon. So that kind of trumps that.
That's what I want.
But
So this is not fiber, this is broadband, a lot like what Falcon is.
right.
And
But-
before, there was a situation between the other company
Yeah.
that wanted to go up there. So you
Yeah.
let you know, they opened up a lot of things.
Yeah. That sure was.
Well,
I remember that, right.
Tom was telling me that you can't have an exclusivity agreement either explicitly or implicitly between providers. I mean, it's federal law, I believe FCC. Right, you have to. It has to be open. Right, right. So if we got to, tackle
Unless they
that,
don't pay their bill.
assuming they don't, assuming they do, we'll have to cross that bridge if and when we need
Is that why
to.
mine goes out every
But
night?
certainly the higher federal authorities gives us a good shot in the arm when it comes to that
Another
conversation.
thing that I do know that down at the prison tower, that little building, that little
Mhm.
structure in there, in that place, the new building.
Mhm.
It's not, so that's the only, and the power's in there, there's no like
Yep.
available power there besides what's in there, so there's a whole lot more to this than just signing this agreement and,
Yeah.
and so you, what have you on the ground.
Is that meter his or
Sorry?
that service there is his or that the city stuff?
So there's, yeah.
I mean, the power goes like the line.
Because we don't have any pump or anything on that tire. There's nothing. It's just-
On the prison tire?
Is that the one they put up by
I'm gonna go-
that guy's house at the end of the road? Is that what you're talking about?
One at a time.
The prison tire, the one next to the prison,
Oh, okay,
that's what we call it, the prison tire.
okay. Yeah, because that was all kind of done under PAC's rule.
Where'd everybody go?
I'm tired.
Did I say something?
I guess they got tired of it.
So are we just, we're just discussing, no action.
Yeah, I would recommend no action yet, because I haven't personally, we were supposed to have a meeting with this guy the other day, but he didn't call us back, but I have questions for this guy, like, because in this lease, it's got $270 listed, but it doesn't say per tire. Well, we want to verify that. I mean, it's not $270 for the, total city package. It's $270 per tire, would be my thought.
Do we get
And then-
anything off of Falcon?
I haven't seen anything from them in quite some time, and then You know, and there's a, well, because the agreement's missing. And so, but yeah, I mean, to be fair to Mr. Falcon, Mr. Taylor is, you know, I want to make sure that this isn't going to interfere with his, you know, I mean, he's got quite a few customers in town. We don't want to all of a sudden create issues for all those customers and him, you know, that they're on different, you know, same frequency or whatever. I mean, I'm sure they're on different frequency, but I got questions. And so I would recommend no action and just, we'll bring it back for a future update. My thought.
Things that go on the water tower extend the broadband distance.
Yes, ma'am. There's like I guess you have a receiver and you have a,
It's wireless.
a repeater, right?
Is this-
So the repeater would be on the tower, the receiver would be on the house,
I
right?
don't know.
So Doug, wait,
AT&T. That's what I had. Okay, so I would recommend at this time, just another no action, just because I've got questions for this guy. Obviously, we have a meeting with him this week, so. Let's go on a motion.
Mm-mm.
Item number 9, no action. Item number 10, discuss, review, take any necessary action to develop city project proposals for Williamson County 2023 road bond call for projects. So I had an email come to me a couple of weeks ago. Y'all remember the road bond that Williamson County did a couple of years ago when we got Control Street out of it, basically?
Right.
Well, this time they emailed us before they just decided an amount for part of it. And so but we've got to get them some sort of project back by April 29th. Right?
We have an idea of how much money?
Yeah, 828.
28, April 28th.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we emailed and asked, you know, what are we looking at here? A couple 100,000, whatever. And basically they emailed back and said, there's really no limit. You know, you want to shoot for the stars and
See what we get.
see what happens, or you want to come in with a smaller project that you know that's going to get, you know, hopefully approved. So,
What we want to
is
do.
that what the email said?
Would that be inclusive of road signage as well?
Well, this is a Williamson County bond, so just like we ran into with Control Street, all that it had to be done on the Williamson County side of the city. So we kind of hoped and prodded the other day, you know, that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of thought the fuel projects. But remember, we basically, I was staying on that side of the street, that direction. So,
So you recalled city attorney's previous reference to comprehensive plan, thoroughfare plan, transportation master plan. Guys, this is where it comes into play right here. Why it's so important. This is from our existing comprehensive plan. And let me zoom in on these for you. Oh, you can choose that. Thank you. So now this is an assessment of the existing city street system. Red is bad, green is good, blue is okay. Right, blue's okay, green is
blue are
good.
state-owned highways.
Yeah.
Yeah. 487, 95.
Mhm.
Everything else is other.
So basically, you'll see pretty much everything on the west side of the tracks. It's no good. And keep in mind, this map was done in about 2004. So it's probably not gotten any better
I've seen
since
them a lot.
in the past 20 years. Overarching assessment of the street system. Now, part of the comprehensive plan, what it did is it outlined, you know, a phase 1 street project, a phase 2 street project, a phase 3. It recommended which streets are prioritized based on a number of factors, frequency of traffic, importance to the future growth and development of the city, the whole nine. It's a component of the comprehensive plan. So the first phase project is, I believe this is Davila, if I'm not mistaken. That's Bell County, so it can't be there. Phase 2 was this purple line, which is Peach Street. Phase 3 is this dark blue, which is Brook Street. Phase 4 is Northwest Front, and Phase 5 is this green Emma, right? And what is this? Jackson? Jackson. There. So the reason for bringing this up is if we're going to present the county with a project proposal, we should probably base it on a comprehensive study component to give us a little bit more street cred, so to speak, when we submit our proposal. It's not just well, I drive down the street every day and it's really bad proposal. It's here's our whole citywide plan and here's what's been recommended for the past few years. Now, things have changed in the past 20 years. There's, obviously the subdivision's a component of it, which is where Brook and Northwest Front would really come into consideration. And also, a vast majority of our residential growth is happening in our southwest quadrant here, where we have a lot of manufactured home zones down here, but also a lot of vacant lots down here that could be potentially replatted and turned into single-family homes or future
Is
residences.
that one right there, the purple one that goes this way, is that horrible, horrible street over in
Everything
Salt
down
Lake?
there is horrible.
This is
Yeah, but this particular one,
this is
is
the
awful.
really bad one here.
that's the one that's got big, I
Now,
mean, when it rains, it's horrible.
okay,
So y'all keep in mind, so comprehensive plan, phase 3, phase 4. So this one's in Bell County, so we eliminate that one. Phase 2 is
Peach.
Peach Street, which we're not seeing a lot of development out there. I mean,
Okay.
It's already built
Is it-
out pretty much.
yeah, it's already built out. Is it terrible? Absolutely. It runs not terrible. Phase 3, like Joseph's saying, a lot of growth going on back here. This is that piece of property that we just talked about. It's going to be EPJ. It's going to be EPJ out. This is it right here. 550 homes are coming right here. Okay. And if you go down Brook Street,
Mhm.
it's crap. I know
That's horrible.
it's crap.
Oh,
And then if you Brook, so the sports bar, matrix, whatever you want to call it, right here. It's great. So, I mean, it could be from here all the way to 47.
Basically, right there on the corner of the street,
Right across the street.
which is probably going to be a flood project at some point here in the next 5 years or so, because that's where a lot of that water
Yeah.
congregates.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of drainage and culverts put there. But one other piece of the puzzle here is you've got the prison plus Arnold, which we know is a county road anyways. It's going to directly feed that. And if the prison ever becomes something of value again, basically meaning it's being used and occupied, that'll have increased traffic that way. But when we talk about the subdivision and any PID, Public Improvement District improvements, there's a certain pool of funding that those public improvements can go towards. If we can get county assistance to basically do a part of Brook Street, or if not all of it,
Will they go to a specification or replace what's existing?
basically I would take Cottrell as an example of what they would do.
But I imagine it'd be a little bit wider than the Cottrell just because of the traffic,
But
count on
my
this.
question is,
It's already a wider.
do line for line, are they gonna be able to expand it to where we can utilize it?
Well, I think a little bit more context with Cottrell is that it was done so last minute because the county had just said, they kept reaching out, and we finally said last minute, yep, let's do this. But if we get ahead of it and say, hey, this is what we want to do, this is what the widths we're proposing and the full scope.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so what potential action we can take tonight at the council level is to approve mayor, myself, whomever, to coordinate with city engineer to focus on a specific, maybe 1 or 2 projects that we can go to the city engineer and say, hey, put this in a nice package and a bow on it that we can submit to the county as our proposal. And we can bring this back to council at the next meeting with, say, of the 2 projects, which ones are you prioritizing and so forth.
If we have a meeting the Monday, and we would turn this into the county by Friday.
Yes.
We have one more meeting before then. So
Let's make a motion not tonight, move forward with it.
Now, do you want to prioritize? We can keep it to the phases. I mean, phase 3 as option A and phase 4.
Well,
Not
phase
to-
3 doesn't go or phase 4 doesn't go all the way through of what we're asking for, right?
Right.
It's not the 47.
And that was one of the reasons why we asked the county, what's the project limit? Because if we ask for something that's not feasible, that's going to be a $3-4 million project, then they're not even going to take it seriously. But if we give them a bite-sized, fun-sized project, then maybe that might be a little bit more feasible for approval. So maybe if we do phase 3 as our pie in the sky project, and then half of phase 4 as maybe say more of a piecemeal project, it gives the county 2 options, potentially.
Yeah. I
Maybe we don't even want to give them that, because then they'll say, yeah, let's just go with the cheaper of the 2 instead of going with the one that we would
Well,
really
even if,
benefit from.
look, I know there's residences back here, but like, here's the trail, correct?
agree. Yeah, it's
So this
still
is-
the trail.
So this is what we did last time, right here, from basically Elm Street, all the way here. That was roughly 500K. Chief, when we rode around that day for 14 hours with the county engineers and all, we gave them this right here too, right? And so they gave us, we sent them back basically 3 different projects to choose from, just like we're looking at here.
Uh-huh.
And they come back, the trail from Arnold to Elm was one, from here to the trail was another one, and then from the trail to Arnold to Salt Lake Drive was another one. Now, we chose this one because it connects a good paved road to a almost good paved road up to a point. That's the one we chose, and because this route was our preferred, project, but it only got you like right up to here, right, Chief?
Yes, we went half of it.
Yeah, so that was roughly 500. But if we could do $1 million project, get from there all the way to the end.
Million wouldn't stretch that far.
I don't know if we go that far, but they said cheap as stars, right? I mean, no, the cheap, right? No, the free? No, the cheap. Yes, sir.
So, a couple questions, because we talked about money. So they're gonna do, like, we just say, hey, this is a street we want done. Wouldn't they have an engineer go out instead of us having to pay an engineer? How much would the engineer cost us?
Yeah, last
Oh,
time
we
was-
wanna put some of the, well, no, we just want the street right here.
Well,
How much would our?
last time it was AT&T.
to reference the design specs, that's why we would want engineering involved, because we want it to be.
But
No, not that much. I mean, it's not like they're doing the full bid packet development.
Technically,
It's
It's
just
gonna be done through the development of the subdivision, correct?
the subdivision would outline street standards.
Street standards.
Which
But y'all remember we talked about $10, public improvement
right,
dollars?
right.
We don't want these lots out here so unaffordable with $10 that they can't afford to sell them. You don't want a $280,000 house all of a sudden becoming $480,000 because they're having to pay for all this road. So this came at a pretty decent time, honestly. I mean,
If the county came to us and said, look, we can only do half of this Brook Street project, it would maybe make initial sense to say, okay, do the back half, because this has nothing to do with an exit of the subdivision. You could use the PID dollars to finish out the remaining portion of it because it's directly related to the subdivision.
That is the strategy here. You don't want to break up into a whole bunch of little bitty ones because they're gonna fix, say, a couple of small ones.
Yeah.
So maybe make them sizable enough to where they're beneficial, and maybe only getting 2 options or something.
We'll go big, and if they say, well, that's too big, then we always can cut back down.
That's true. That's true.
Good night.
Y'all going? Bye-bye.
So, yeah, I think we turn in for the whole project, and we let them come back and say, well, that's too big,
That's
you
too
know, dial it
much,
back.
and then we cut it back.
And then like y'all say, you do this end out here, up until about where the subdivision's gonna cut through, so we can come through right here and here. And then the PID dollars can pick up from here to here. So,
It's a thought.
but my thoughts are we turn in the whole project.
I think so too.
And let them say, well, it's a little bit too big. Or,
Yeah, what will you settle with?
Yeah.
we appreciate your ambitions, but dial it back a notch.
So we just make a motion to allow the mayor and what's his name over here?
Ding
Joseph,
dong.
to come
Yeah.
up with to just come up with something and bring it back to, you gonna have time to do that? I sure got you busy for the next.
Well, I don't know. My
weeks,
calendar's
okay?
filling up awfully fast all of a sudden.
You're asking us to slow down. We're just adding to it.
But I mean, that's pretty simple. We just turn another out for them and then, and-
Yeah.
That one on Front Street, if that's ever redone, there's water lines that need to be reinstalled also, so that's what sewer that problem is, if they're not legally connected correctly.
That would be
Are
the other
you kidding?
consideration
We
too.
were looking at, that the other day, I think.
On the what?
That we were looking at over there.
Oh, where it's like,
We don't have any
Are
other
we
little
getting
Texas
by with
town
that?
that we are talking about.
Somebody else in the office.
yeah, that's right.
There's a bunch of that going on too.
Mhm.
It's all part of the engineering and part of the, they come out and do all kinds of survey and all kinds of what have you.
Okay, so what do we make this motion and what do we do here?
Make a motion to direct the mayor and.
Everybody ready?
Yep.
I'm gonna make a motion for the mayor, that'd be Chad Means, and then the city administrator, Joseph Crescendes, to develop a city project for the Williamson County 2023 road bond project. How about that?
Wow, man.
Mr. Weaver seconds.
Ricky made a motion. Who seconded?
Mr. Weaver did.
Always laugh when it's what they just said, though.
Motion to second that. All in favor?
Yeah,
All in favor?
right here. I mean,
Number 11.
damn.
Discuss if you taking necessary action related to the tire disposal fee schedule, rules and regulations for the 2023 citywide permit. We talked about this the other day.
The biggest one is related, the only cost that we're incurring is the tire removal. I think it was 3,200. Do we want to set a 4 tires free, everyone after that's an X amount of dollars? Something along those lines? Opening the floor.
Anything, council?
You were put on for free, and then how much you cut?
I think when we looked at the other disposal places, wasn't it like,
They're $4.5, $5 a tire to get rid of it. Yes, sir.
So, I mean, we're not gonna make any money on this because we're obviously, we want people to get rid of tires.
Right.
But
Right.
we don't want it to be abused and all of a sudden, we got discount tires showing up here. You know, somebody over here with 350 tires saying, y'all sitting there cleaning them for free here, but,
Yeah.
you know, that it fills up like that and, you know, people that need to be cleaning them up don't have room to clean them up.
Old tires,
Yeah.
per household, 4 per household?
Would it be outrageous to say, bring your water bill or bring your utility bill?
Well, that's a prerequisite. Anytime
Okay, you
there's a
have to-
checkpoint. Yep.
Okay. I mean, I'll be happy to volunteer and do whatever I can do. I'll bring that wheel.
Got the dogs and everything.
Technically, the trailer can hold about 1,000 tires. And we're gonna have it for a solid week. We get it delivered on the 28th and they don't pick it up until the 8th.
Mhm.
So that gives us time to get,
Additional
we've
flow.
got 200 or 300 tires out of the sewer plant. I mean, at least.
Now, we're gonna stack them all right, aren't we? We're not gonna just go.
No, they gotta be
We're gonna
stacked in there. correct.
Okay. Okay.
But if we can recoup any of the money, I mean, I'm with Chad, I mean, if some service station shows up and he's got 75 tires on his truck, just think he's gonna get rid of them to save him some money, that's probably not the, we need to start charging something.
Oh, 4 tire minimum, I mean, free, and then get the bill?
We could, so it sounds like 4 tire minimum, and then do we want to do it?
Or maximum,
You got
maximum before you start.
10 tires.
Oh, right.
10 tires free, anything after that is $3 a tire or what?
Another Rasmus's been going around and, you know, made a list of we're sending certified mail to.
Mhm.
I mean, kind of what's the average of how many tires these people have? Is it?
Those are going to be like your habitual offenders. I mean, they've got a stack of them. Yeah, I mean, it's not 1 or 2. It's a
They're gonna get charged something regardless.
right. So it's either pay a lower fee now, or you're going to get a municipal court fine later for not doing it.
Well, the norm has been around $4 a tire if you take them to a discount or wherever, $4 to $5 a tire.
About 5, you know, Holly.
So 4 maximum and then $5 a tire.
Well, I mean, even if, we won't even get rid of it.
Exactly, exactly.
Even if it's $3 a tire, like I say, we're not. doing
Well,
this to
okay,
eliminate it,
then
we're just gonna
$3,
Put a fee on it so they're not, it's not abused, you know?
right?
So you want people to get rid of them. You don't want them to say, oh, well, they'll do it again. in another year.
So what if they present their utility bill and we know that they are a resident here? Don't have the fee? When Joe Schmo pulls up from,
Well, that would happen regardless. I mean, if someone comes from Granger and they don't have, it doesn't say Bartlett on their driver's license, or they don't have a City of Bartlett utility bill, then they won't be allowed to dispose of
Okay.
anything. The Goodwill maybe, but everything else, we turn them away. Because Granger actually has their cleanup on the 14th of this week, basically. So
okay,
they'll have plenty of their own stuff going on.
okay.
But
I just don't want to discourage anybody from in town that has a bunch of them that needs to get rid of them.
That's the lady who wanted to charge $5.
Well, I was just thinking out loud. I mean, you know.
You come from that Salt Lake, you look at one, you got to be back.
That's where they've been doing it. Yes, Chief,
Yeah,
go ahead.
that's what they've been doing.
So I know this also has in there talking about the, in our agreement with Clausen, we used to have them come in town sometime a year and pick up brush.
Pick up what?
Brush.
Oh, okay.
You remember that? We haven't had that in years. And I'm
Like
like,
my comment when we put out the breast pick up. That's why. Sucker.
oh, they have that brush pickup truck, don't they?
yeah, it used to come once a year and then we put it out in the, remember that? Yeah, and they came and picked it all up.
Mhm.
Yeah, brush everywhere.
I'm trying to get them to give it to donate
Reach
to
out to
grapple.
Clausen and say, hey.
Do they want?
Like grapple truck, they don't use it anymore. They just got water. They got a big old grapple.
On the excavator?
Well, I mean, when are we going to be doing that? Have we started doing that?
The guys they're getting to it as they can.
Well, I had Jim put it on the agenda at the fire department, and Stephen said he would either get with you or Chad on coordinating when y'all wanted to burn the brush fire.
We'll do that here in the next couple of weeks
Okay.
because of the rain.
You know, in Georgetown, we lived there in Serenado, they would pick up your brush, but we had to cut it to a certain length and abundance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's the only way they would pick it up. We've got tree limbs in town that are this big around that are laying on the side of the street.
We're supposed to talk about tire disposal here.
Yeah, it's just cleanup right down in here, so I figured we'd talk
Throw that in there.
about it. Also, same day, cleanup.
That's right.
Oh,
Don't you have better things to be doing, like towing cars around the first street?
yeah, I told the
I'm cleaning up.
No, but tire disposal, up to what, a handful free, anything after that, $3 tire, $5 tire, whatever, I mean, it says three,
We'll do three. Do $3 a tire.
one charge, I mean, do we just want to, like, okay, pretty good.
All right, that's gonna be me, and I'm gonna say, Joe Schmuck, you don't live here, take those tires, throw them down the
Go
road.
back down there and work on my house.
Well, if he doesn't live here, we'll charge him $5.
I don't care, you're still on.
Any other?
Huh?
I'll make a motion that we let them put $5
No money?
Five tires free and $4.
No money, no money, you ain't doing it. You ain't doing it,
Gil,
that's right,
Jones,
Take no money.
$5,
Five
free.
tires free and then $4 a tire.
Is that per household or per
Amen.
vehicle? Per household.
Okay, is that your thing? Is that
Jones
your-
made a motion, 5 tires free, any additional tires after that, charge $4 a tire.
Amen, I mean,
Is
two.
it $4?
What'd you say, $4?
What was it? What was the dollar amount?
He said, "Well,
I say $4.
do we want to amend this motion?
Okay,
Are we good?
we're good. 5 tires, $4.
5 tires, $4.
I mean, after your 5 tires, it's $4.
After the 5.
After your 5 tires.
thing after the tires, $4. Right.
Yep.
Do the free five.
So if you have 8 tires to get rid of, it's gonna cost you $12. Because you got the first 5 free. 3 times 4,
Mhm.
right? $12. That makes,
It's not a bad deal, to be honest with you.
that's not a bad deal.
If you charge them first tire $4, why not just say first 4 tires free and then $4 more for additional tires?
Well, there is a motion on the floor to approve 5 tires free per household and $4 per tire for every tire after 5. If there's no second, that motion dies, and then a new motion can be made.
Vicky might explain the motion in a second. You gotta
I'll
go.
take it back. I'll take it back.
Well,
Forget it.
if you
I take it back.
if you second and then nobody
We don't vote.
approves it, if it doesn't get
So
3
we have a
votes,
motion on the table, we have a second, all in favor of that motion? And that motion failed. Hopefully, it's 1 against, 4 votes for all. All right, now do we have a new motion? Jesse, you get it.
Go, Jesse.
You can't just deny the motion
And then not say nothing.
Come on.
Well, I gotta wait. I make a motion that first 4 tires are free, and it's $4 for additional four tires. $1 each? $1 each.
Jesse has a motion on the table. First 4 tires are free. Any additional tire after that's $1, up to 4. What's that from?
$4, 4 tires.
Let me question.
Or $1 a piece, for a
Dollar a piece for the tires.
We'll go $1.
Dollar a piece.
I'll second that.
Jesse with the motion, so with the second.
How about the option?
All in favor of that motion? That motion carries 5-0. You're too easy.
Yeah, we're just sitting here. Come on, let's go.
Item 15, discuss with you taking necessary action relating to city pool fees, rules, and regulations.
I say we do just what we did last year.
I second that.
So, no charge. We were talking about hours the other day, and just.
Well, Mike, you know what-
What we talking about hours?
it would be, but we can always revisit it again. But you did have a motion to approve what we did last year.
He
Mr. Mayor,
seconded
Mayor
it.
Pro Tem Weaver second. We can always bring it
Everything
back.
went fine last year. Why can't we do it like we did last year?
We got one less lifeguard.
I make a motion, next agenda, we only put 2 items on the agenda, because after 3, they just fall apart.
Oh, we've only got one.
Ms.
more.
Cooper got a motion to do what we did last year.
And somebody needs to bring dinner.
Ms. Cooper's got a motion to do what we did last year. Anybody got a second?
What was that?
Philip Weaver got a second.
Philip
on that.
seconded it.
What was we doing last? We don't know.
I don't know, but it worked, so.
Last year, after we reported the free.
D&D.
Free them all.
I mean, it all worked out,
You
didn't
raised
it?
your hand for a second. What are you
Not
talking
everybody
about?
has to call. But you get your vote.
I motion to adjourn.
Four tires and then $1.
So we gotta take,
He's still on the tires. We're talking about swimming pool right now. He's still over on the
Did that-
tires.
How did that motion go? Or the vote? How did the vote
we
go for
haven't
that
voted
motion?
yet. We got to vote, Chad. Let's
All
go.
right, my bad. We got a motion on the table to do what we did last year. We got a second on it, second
Yeah.
on that. Do what we did last year. All in favor of what we did last year?
All right.
That's your part.
Motion carried 5-0. We're doing what we did last year.
It worked. Worked out.
Free entry, free
Yeah,
pop.
it all worked.
We can talk, we can talk about, once we hire the staff, we can talk about, hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that then. No big deal.
Improvements that we need to make. All right, item number 16, let's get everything. Item number 16, discuss review, take any necessary action related to the resolution 20230410-16, establish signatory for the police building deed of trust and loan. What is this about?
Yeah. what's that
Amy over the bank, she has asked me a couple times that apparently when the deed or the loan was issued for the PD building, the signatories at the time are no longer on council. And so in order for them to approve some sort of amendment to it, they have to get authorized new signatories to be assigned to it, which is basically everybody on council. I don't have the resolution back that has the full wording on it. We can either bring this back for the next meeting and get it done.
Yeah. Everybody sign it. All right.
So
Well, bring it back to the next meeting. We'll sign it and we'll be good.
next meeting.
Moving this to the next meeting.
Next meeting,
Do we need to vote on that?
it'd just be tabled.
No timetable on the.
She's been asking me for like months now. I'm
So
sure
let's
a
try
couple
to
more
get it
weeks.
by next meeting. How's that mean? How's that
Let's say
work?
table to next meeting.
We've,
We tabled for the next meeting.
we've tabled this until the next meeting, which is the 24th. Y'all want to go on an executive session, talk about anything?
Not necessarily. I guess. I'm hungry for fried chicken.
Agenda items, we don't want to talk about that.
I am so hungry for fried chicken.
So what are we doing with the tire? We have
All
no,
I can say is it worked, Shelton. It worked. Whatever we did, it worked. Yeah, you know that's my job. You know that's my job.
we have a, still, made a motion to adjourn. And Gail second.
That's right.
All in favor?
You don't have to have a vote to adjourn.
What do you got, 4 golf tires? That's like.
So what time did we
Oh,
adjourn?
I was gonna say, on your tire thing that you put out, you put on there something about 15-inch diameter or something like that, a total diameter.
Yeah, there's a size limit.
But y'all know, that's just a golf cart tire, that ain't a car tire.
Well, that's what
15 is a car.
No, it's.
What time did we adjourn?
750, 16 or something like that.
I think it's like 17 and a half. I put out the picture is meant to describe what it looks like. No,
Go to your picture.
It's not, you can't do like tractor tires and stuff like that.
No, we don't want truck tires.
But that's what was specified in the disposal agreement.
No, it was,
Hey, Gail, you and me are
I
gonna
took-
stand at
I
the
took it
tire
verbatim.
place.
What time was the
Yeah,
meeting
we're gonna
adjourned?
run that.
I need that
Oh,
time.
we adjourned this meeting at 9:42 p.m. My bad.
Oh, I'm excited.
25 by 8 by 12. 12 inches.
I am not gonna sit out there and measure them tires.
Janet, Mayor.
It's like a tractor tire going down the way.
That's the bottom of the tire, and the top of the tire. Diameter, 12 inches. That's the real.
Yeah, like the big truck.
No,
No, because the big truck is on the bottom.
I'm not gonna break the tire. The wheels on my truck out there, 20-inch diameter.
If y'all can meet, I mean, by all means, just send it to the ladies so they can post it. It'll get lost in my.
no, they're,
I mean, that'll work. Let's see.
Look, man, I ain't done nothing.
I think it's changed.
I'll get it out of the golf cart.
it says 17.5, 17 and a half inch to 25 inch.
This says, is what I'm saying, the diagram that he put out has 25
Oh.
by 8 by 12.
No, the diagram is just for reference. It doesn't course.
It says tires bigger than 25 by 17 and a half inch will not be accepted.
Mhm.
What do you call a 17 and a half inch?
And that's why the diagram is there so folks can see. I'm assuming it's the
Think like
bigger.
my truck's got 20 inch tires on it, I think.
Yes. Here, I'll take those for you.
So,
I'll staple them for you. Let me,
You
uh,
staple them, just 17 and a half.
user. It's that subdivision,
Oh, okay.
Mr. Phillip, here's the subdivision ordinance.
Hey, I'm glad to see you.
Here's that, Here's that subdivision ordinance.
I need to confirm that, but I think it's just like passenger tires.
There's a confusion between what we're allowing versus what the diagram is showing. It's just for reference. Is all it is. Take it all.